Sure, you can catch up.
We're going to go to we finished the first piece of the Gemora, which is a little bit complicated, but I think we understood it in the end. Basically, in the case of someone where he says, "What are you doing in this land?" and he says, "I bought it from so and so," said that he bought it from you effectively, and he says, "That means you're agreeing that it's my land and you didn't buy it from me, so therefore I've got nothing to do with you." And Rava says to him, "Dina ka'omale." Yeah, Rava says that's a justifiable thing to say, right? That's a justifiable thing to say. Why? Because you said to me, you agreed that it's my land, and you don't really have a taina. That means even if he had 3 years chazaka, the case is he doesn't actually have 3 years chazaka at all, according to Rashba. Even if he had 3 years chazaka, it wouldn't work, right? Because he hasn't got a taina. What does it mean, a taina? It's got to be a valid claim, a basis, a story, a reason behind it. It's got to have a situation behind it. Otherwise, it's no good. He doesn't know if it belongs to the person who sold it to him or not. He's got no idea. So he's basically acknowledged and recognized the field's not his. That's what he's done. Okay. So that's basically the most significant part of the Rashbam. He went through other things as well. He said maybe he's got a migo. He could say, since he could have said I bought it from you and ate it and used it for shnei years chazaka. So therefore, when he says I bought it from so-and-so, bought it from you, it'd also be Naaman. But the point is, he has no idea if the seller bought it from the first person or not. He hasn't got a clue. And therefore, that is no good. That's no migo at all, right? The only difference is that if he had chazaka of 3 years, and he says that this person bought it from you, who bought it, I bought it from so-and-so, who bought it from you in front of me, or he has a proof that the guy has lived in there for 1 day, at least 1 day, that's good enough. Because that's the concept of turning the lokeach, right? We make a claim for the lokeach, for the buyer, right? Here, that's not going to help. Because he hasn't got a chazak of 3 years. And the first person he bought it from hasn't got any shtar mechiras. He bought it from the original owner. So because he's in a situation here where he hasn't even used it for 3 years, he hasn't even got chazaka. So here, it's not even going to help. Even if he had Adim that the seller had been there for 1 day, it's not going to help, right? And the migo isn't going to work either. It says that I bought it from you in front of. I saw that he bought it from you in front of me. That also is not going to work. So that's the Rashbam understands that basically this case is almost like I wouldn't say an open and shut case, but because he doesn't have Shnei Chazaka, so it's not going to work even if he did have a better time. That's how the Rashbam understands it. Now, okay, so we're up to the next case. And we learn, of course, the parallel to this case we said was the case in Daf Mem Aleph on the base when he does have Shnei Chazaka, when he does have chazaka, then once he's become once we can establish he's a lokeach, we can make a tain on his behalf, right? So it's enough that the guy was lived in there for 1 day, right? But that here, when he doesn't have shnei chazaka, he doesn't have 3 years chazaka, that is not going to work. You said the base might have, who's a buyer? If we can establish he's a lokeach, that means we will create a claim for him, even if he hasn't expressed the claim fully. All he's got is just Aiden that the guy has been there for 1 day, for example. That's enough to make him into a lokeach, because this guy had it, now you have it. So it's true that you bought it from him because you know that he used to own it, and now we know you own it, right? So obviously you did. There clearly was a sale here. We got, you are a lokeach, so we make a tain on your behalf, right? But all of that only works if you have a chazaka of 3 years. You have shalosh shonim. If you don't have a chazaka of shalosh shonim, so therefore all you're doing is making a claim and saying, and saying that, I don't know, there might be Adim, that the person you're saying you bought it from was there for one day, but it doesn't help you because who says it's yours? I mean, you haven't got chazaka, you haven't got anything. You're not. You've got a flimsy claim without anything to stand it on. You know, you haven't got a basis to put it on, right? So it's not going to help you. Yeah. The next case is where you have something stronger. What are you doing in this land? I bought it from so-and-so. Sorry, we're 3 lines down from the top of Lamed Umad Base. Someone said to his friend, my boy is Bayara, what are you doing in this land? I bought it from so-and-so, and I used it for 3 years. I enjoyed it. I used it for 3 years. I've got 3 years chazaka. Now here is better. Yeah? Because he's got chazaka. And he's claiming he bought it from someone else. That's all he says. He doesn't say anything about the other guy. Okay? There's no edus that the other guy had owned it for any period of time at all. Nothing. Yeah? You just say, I've got 3 years chazaka and I bought it from this person. I know nothing else. Omalei, the guy responds to him, the person who's ma'arer makes the obvious response, Palnya Gazlanahu. Oh, he's a thief. This is my land. You're telling me you bought it from the other guy. Okay, well, he stole it. Well, yeah, my fault that you're dealing with stolen property. He stole it from me. Omalei said to him, Isli Sadi, I've got Edim, da asoi v'imlechi boch. I asked you whether I should buy this property. V'omrisli, in other words, your financial advisor, and I asked you whether this was a good investment. V'omrisli, and you said to me, Zil Zovin, go and buy the land. Now, this is an interesting twist to the story. Do you understand what's happened? You understand? I've got 3 years chazaka, okay? 3 years chazaka. And I say, 3 years chazaka, and you say to me, hey, you're my land. No, I bought it from this person. And the other guy says, Reuben says, well, hold on a second, you stole it from me as a thief. So Levi, Shimon, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Always confusing with Shimon and Levi because you forget who's who. Reuven is the person who's claiming the land is his, more it come. Shimon is the person who is the middleman. And Levi is the guy who is in the land and has been there for 3 years. Levi comes along and says, Reuven comes along and says, it's my land. I own it. I've got Edim. I used to own this land, been in my family for generations, etc., right? Levi says, no, it's not true. I bought it from Shimon. So Reuven says, yeah, that's because Shimon is a thief. So Shimon stole the land from me, and that's how he sold it to you. So Levi has got some clever trick up his sleeve. Because Levi says, I have Edim that I consulted you professionally, in a professional capacity, in your capacity as a financial advisor. I don't quite say that, but basically, yeah. I asked your advice. Should I buy this land or not? And you said to me, yeah, it's a good investment. Good investment. So you encouraged me to buy the land. So it can't possibly be that the land was stolen from you, because you would never have encouraged me to buy it if it was stolen land. If I asked your advice whether I should buy the land and you owned it, then you would have said to me, yeah, it's mine. Can I have it back, please? You wouldn't have advised me to buy it.
That's one word against another.
What do you mean?
Who do you believe?
Oh, again, Levi says, Levi's done something very clever here, because Levi has said, no, Levi's got Adim. It's not one word and answer. Levi has got Adim that he asked advice. Yeah, and Reuven advised him to buy it. That's why he says got Adim. Otherwise, it would be one word against another. And therefore, Reuven, now we have to see Reuven's next move. It's like a game of chess. Reuven's next move cannot be you're lying. That's an illegal move in the game. Why? Because got Adim. You got to know the rules of the game. You have to bring other Adim. Just claim what you like, but we'll just throw you out of court. You can't claim false witnesses unless you very serious business start claiming false witnesses. You better prove it. You got to prove it. You can claim what you want. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It means you need Adim Hussein monotheism, right? I can't say that.
But that's not really a case.
No, it's not. That's not.
I know. I'm saying.
No, he could disprove Adim. Jeremy's right, but he could disprove Adim. That's one thing he could do. He could say, right? when Levi says, Isli Sadi, I have, we're not going down there. It's a fair comment in the sense that when Levi says, I have Eidim, right, that you advise me to buy it, it is possible for Reuven to disprove those Eidim. That's true.
It's a classic example of Aiden's only anyway. We're talking about a scenario that two Aiden come along and say, so and so did such and such.
No, anything can be.
People come along and say, you know, that's not possible.
No,
They're there to try and implicate somebody as having done something wrong.
It was the same thing. Because think about it, you could have Adam Zovin who came, you could have Adam who came along and say, these two witnesses who you claim supported you, support your claim. How are they supporting your claim? Right? They are testifying in court that so-and-so advised you to buy it, which means, potentially, at least at this stage, which Basin will say, right, knockout blow, you give the land to Levi. If those Adam are found to be lying, what's happened? They've caused Reuven to lose that land. So therefore, they would have to pay according to the halacha of Adam Zomim. I don't know why it would fit according to the rules. It's just that that's not the case. Now, so what does he do instead? Omalei said to him, Hasheni noechli harishan koshe menu. He brings a svara. Reuven says like this: don't come along to me and say that it's a problem that I advise you to buy the land. You know why I advise you to buy the land? Because I prefer to spar with you in court than Shimon. Because you're a softie. Because you're a weakling. Because I have more chance of winning. Because I'm a weakling. So in other words, it's a logical reason why I should advise you to buy the land. He's not denying it. It's true. I advise you to buy the land. And you're telling me that's proof that you agree that the guy didn't steal it from you. It's not proof at all. He did steal it from me. And you know why I advise you to buy it? Because that was the best strategy I had to get away from him. Because he's a tough guy. He's the mafia boss. He is the godfather. Is that what it's called? Right? So I don't want to mess with him, but I'm happy to mess with you because you're a nothing. You're a petty street criminal.
Wait, no, why do you have to be a petty street criminal? He wasn't to know that the guy was a thief.
Yeah, it's true. You're not a thief. You're not stupid. You're just a nebuch.
Unimportant.
Yeah.
You're just an honest broker. You're an honest broker, whereas Shimon is the color.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is, Omar Rava said to him, Dino ka Omale, you're right. The halacha's with him. Interesting, isn't it? The Ma'ara has got a good claim here, and he can get the land back. And that is a valid line of argument. Okay. And it means that what? Think about it. Why does the Ma'ara get it? We've said this again and again.
Because you have Adam?
No, because again, we've got a balancing act to play here. The Ma'ara is the one who claims the land was originally his. Yeah? Ma'ara as in person, yeah, as in who's Ma'ara. You know, raises the question.
Does not get it.
He does. Dina Ko'omale. He's got a valid claim. Why? How can? Why? Oh, who says? Who says? What's the answer?
No, it's something about the Chazaki.
Well, not quite. It means, like we said the whole way along, the default position, where's the default position? The default position should be Reuven, right? Levi's coming along and saying, I've got Chazaka with a proof and everything else, and if the land is mine, right? But he's got a leaking ship. Levi's claim is faulty, right? Why? Because he hasn't really got a proper claim. His only claim is that I bought it from Shimon. Shimon and Reuven says Shimon's a thief. And the only possible way Levi's going to save himself and give himself a proper claim is by proving that Reuven admitted himself that it wasn't a theft because Reuven advised him to buy it. But Reuven's now deflected that by saying, I advised him to buy it because I wanted you to have it so I could get it back. And therefore, Levi's claim has still got holes in. And because Levi's claim has got holes in, that means Reuven gets it. Reuven doesn't need it. Why?
Because why on earth is he waiting 3 years?
What do you mean?
Why did he wait 3 years? Why?
Oh, I see. Okay.
What is the value in that chazaka?
The Rashbam asked your question. Brilliant. Yes, the Rashbam asked your question, Johnny. Well done. Rashbam asked your question. So he's going to deal with it. We're going to deal with it. Yeah, it could be that way around. Yeah, but it sounds better for you, no? They say you asked Rashbam. Rashbam asked Johnny's question. Yeah, okay, anyway, so we'll see that. Okay, let's see the Rashbam now because there's a little bit here about, okay. Admin and the Rabbanon, which is the Machlokes in Ksubas, but we'll get to that. Let's just see. Let's see the Rashbam now. So he says like this. The Rashbam is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down where it gets wide. The Palnis of Intel Achatio Shnei Chazaka. I bought it from so and so, and I used it for 3 years. Chazaka. Jeremy, do me a favor. Will you put the air conditioning on? Just press the on button, please. Thank you. The Ein Lo Edim Shehachazik by Osa Moicher Yom Echad, and he hasn't got Edim that he was machzik in it for one day. That one day. Because if he did, if he had Edim that the guy had been there for one day, the person he sold it to him, that would be okay. We make a taina for a lokeach, right? That's what we do. That's what we say later on in that case of the person who lived in the attic for 4 years. Yeah, all the Rashbam is doing here is just framing why this case is not like the first case. Because this case, you've got chazaka. And therefore, if you had Eidim that he's been there for Yom Echad, one day, Shimon, yeah. Then Reuven can no longer say this guy's a theft. Why? Because we apply the principle of turning the lekeach, which means you make a taina on behalf of a lekeach, right? A buyer. If I've been there for 3 years, chazaka, and I've got Eidus that you, the middleman, the person I said I bought it from, has been there for one day, just one day, that's enough to make you into a buyer. I clearly bought it from you because you had it and now I've got it, right? And I'm claiming I bought it from you, understand, right? So I'm a lokeach, and we jump in and say, right, turn in the lokeach. What is the taina of the lokeach? What do we do? What do you mean turn in? What claim do we make? What claim do we make? The claim we construct is... No, but what's the claim? Yeah, it must be that you sold. Yeah, you that was bought from the first person, and then you sold it on to me. That's the claim. Yeah. Yeah, he sold it on to me. Yeah, that's right. The Rashbam says over there, Memala from the base, that the svara is to strengthen his words, to strengthen your words. Put in your hands. And then he says you don't need to bring Eidim that you bought it from the owner. The person who sold it to you bought it from the owner, because we make that taina on your behalf. On your behalf. The way I understand it is that that once you've got the proof of the Eidus of one day from the middleman, okay, then that's enough to basically to strengthen what you're saying, and I think it means that that you are now established as a buyer, as a lokeach. You see, if I don't have any proof at all that the middleman Shimon was there at all, so we can't say based in want to help out buyers, because who says you're a buyer? Maybe you're a crook, maybe you bought stolen goods or all sorts of things, right? But once we know that the guy has been there for one day, yes, it's true that he could be a thief. It's true he could be a thief, right? But the rules of chazaka beat that possible claim, because the rules of chazaka, included within the rules of chazaka, is chazaka sheyeshim otayna. If you've got a chazaka and you've got a decent claim, we give it to you. Why? So we learn why. Like so Chaim says, what makes that takonas chachomim kick in? What makes the takonas chachomim kick in to give it to someone is if you've been there for 3 years and you have got a reasonable claim. One potential possible reasonable claim is this scenario where there was a middleman. You've got Eidus, the guy was there for one day, and that's enough for Beis Din to say, right, because you've got chazaka, we will build a picture which is logical and obvious to our, most logical scenario is that you bought it from him, who bought it from the other guy, and therefore it's yours. You tell me it's not bulletproof, it's not rock solid. Could be it's all true, not true. Could be the fact that the guy was there for one day just because he was a thief and he lived in it for one. All true. Could be. But this is ultimately a takana. Yeah, it's ultimately Chazal stepping in and helping out people who are buyers. Yeah, once you've reached that threshold, we step in and help you out, basically. Here, he hasn't reached that threshold because he hasn't got any edus that the guy's been there for one day. All right?
All he's got is pages that Ruvain said, go and buy.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
It doesn't imply that he bought it.
Yeah. No, it doesn't say anything. All it says is that, it doesn't say that the other guy bought it.
So can I just ask?
Yeah.
If somebody buys something, are they classified as a locator or not?
Well, if you buy something, what's what? Yeah, it makes you're still no, you're a lekech. No, it's a good point we ask. I know what you're trying to ask, but it's not quite a fair question here. Because here you have a chazaka and a time.
But can we just cover that point to start?
Generally,
Is it true that if somebody buys from a gunner?
yeah, you are a lekech. Who's mekach tos? It was not really mekach tos. It was just you're dealing with stolen goods. You are, but there's a whole din in Bavakama, there's a whole sugi in Bavakama, what you have to do, whether you give it back, with your kohen of machinery, whatever, all these type of things, how you give it back, or whatever. Gozal Morish, the classic case is, this is a bit different to shooting mice, where you steal a beam of wood and you put it in a building, it's Takanas Hashovim. We don't make you give it back, because if we did, it would be too difficult.
I just don't get how, when you have one day fruit, the Rashban, I understand why the Rashban is saying, going down that line and saying you have to be dealing in a scenario where there is no evidence that this person that shouldn't have been there even one day, right? But even still, even just being there one day, so what does that
that's why you have to get, that's what I'm saying, you have to get your head. It doesn't prove it. It doesn't prove it's true. He could still be a Gazlan. It does not prove it. I think I showed you last time a Ketsos. I read out a Ketsos to you. He brings the Marit who says, what's the Lusfar of Chad Yoma? He's not called a Lekeach, Elam Kain Mavaresh, Darboy Oster, unless you can prove that the guy has lived in it for one day. He's not a buyer. Then it's chazak. In other words, what do we do? What do we do by saying, by you having edus that the guy has lived there for one day? Yeah, right. You have now
he's a legitimate seller for you to bought.
You've bought it. You are now a lokech. Yes, you are a lokech. Clearly, we're defining you as a lokech, not that a buyer. Now it could be.
Even though it could have been,
it could be. You could have been swindled. That's right. It could have been a scam. But one thing is clear. It is clear that you bought it from the middleman. That's clear. Okay, fine. But that doesn't mean my story's true. That doesn't mean he bought it from Reuven. So that's fine. Yes, you're right. It's not. But that's the Takanas Chachamim. The Chazal will help you because you're a lokech, because you're a buyer. They don't help everyone. They help someone with chazaka. They will tell you, yeah. You need to remember we've got chazaka. I've been there 3 years.
The way that it says, when you're explaining it based on the context, it implies that the whole reason why Levi doesn't have a strong claim here is not because Reuven says Shimon was a gunner.
Yeah.
Something to do with Shimon was a gunner. It's to do with the fact that you don't have proof that you bought it. Yeah,
because you don't have proof that you bought it. That's why you're stuck.
So, but based on that, then what's the relevance of the fact that Reuven says that
they was there for one day?
That Shimon was a gunner.
Well, it's not relevant. Well, again, our case, you don't have edus for one.
No, I'm saying.
You're talking your case where you do or don't.
We're saying Reuven has trumps Levi.
Yes.
Yeah, in part because what's happened, despite Levi having chazaka, and saying I bought it, doesn't say I bought it from somebody who bought it from you, right? Because there is no proof that he has that Shimon had resided in it for one day.
Right.
Therefore, Levi is not considered the buyer.
Yeah.
And therefore, Reuven can make whatever claim he wants. It doesn't have to be then, oh, but Shimon was a gunner. Because what's the relevance of Shimon being a Ganaf or not?
What else is he going to say?
It's all about.
What
the
other
fact-
claim is he going to make?
It's all about the fact.
He's saying it's his land.
It's all about the fact that Reuven is saying that middleman, in this case Shimon,
Is
there
what?
is no proof. There is no proof
Like what? How
that
did,
he sold it to you and that you bought it.
well, how did he get it? How did he get it?
No.
There's only two options, right? Buying or stealing. There's no third option. You either bought it or you stole it, or I gifted it to you,
Reuven is not contending.
or I borrowed, or you borrowed it. It's not.
Reuven is not saying you didn't buy it from Shimon. He's saying I accept you bought it from Shimon.
Yeah.
But Shimon never had a right.
Shimon was illegal. Shimon got it illegally. That's right. And that will-
But somehow the moment you say, but I've got proof that you.
that is disproved.
That somehow that means that no longer is he, no longer is he,
No.
Is that element that has
Facing the two things, because we're not using the one day proof here. We're not interested in the one day proof because Reuven is not denying that Levi bought it from Shimon.
But the way that we're saying.
No, this is
that-
different.
but the way
You've got to be careful not to mix up the cases.
But the way that we're saying it is that Levi, based on the Rashbam, Levi has no proof that he was a legitimate buyer.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, here, because he's got no agents, the guy was there. Therefore, he's not a lokef. We don't say turn in a lokef. We don't make the turn on his behalf because he hasn't got something which places him that he hasn't reached that level of proof. That's true, right? That's true. That's why the whole conversation starts. That's right. Let's see the Rashbam says. Palnia Gazlano. The next Rashbam says he says he's a thief. The Sodezu in this field, Shemimeni Gozla. He stole it from me. Ve'im lechino atzti. I took advice. Zilzovin. So I took about him, and you said to me, Lech Knei, go and buy the field. So he says, you know why I said that? Because you are better for me to fight with, and to take it away from you, badin. I prefer to have the argument with you. Rava says, that's a fair claim. What the Ma'ar is saying is reasonable, it's fair, the din is with him. The Yitzal Sadehu, and he is allowed to take his field. He gets his field. So we are going to have to see Admon and the Rabbanon because he's going to talk about it. Sorry, so let's go back to the Gemora, and then the Rashbam will explain it. The Gemora says, Kaman, who does this go like? Ka'admon. This is like Admon. In the famous Machlokas at the end of Ksubas, the Snan, the Mishnah says, someone who claims that the field is his. Okay, so as Ruvain argues that a certain field that Shimon sold to Levi. Shimon sold the field to Levi, all right? And Reuven comes along, similar to our case, and says, it's true that you bought it from Shimon, but Shimon stole it from me, okay? The only slight spanner in the works is that Reuven himself has signed on the Shtar Mechiro from Shimon to Levi as an aid. His signature's there on the Shtar. So Reuven owns a field. It's like this. Levi has a field. And Levi says that he bought it from Shimon. Comes along Reuven and says, it's true that you bought it from Shimon. I don't dispute that, right? I don't dispute that. But Shimon stole it from me. Okay? Yeah, he stole it from me. The person you bought it from was the thief. The only problem is we look closely at the shtar, the document of sale, and Reuven was one of the Aidin. So very similar to our case. Reuven has done something to support the sale himself. You understand? So how can he come along and say the sale was a full sale? So why did you support the sale? You understand? Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Shimon sold the field to Levi, not in dispute. Reuven says, it's true, you bought it from Shimon, but Shimon was a thief and he stole it from me. So Levi says to Reuven, if that's true, why'd you sign the document?
Yeah.
Yes, so you think.
We don't need to worry about the signature. It's Shtar.
Shtar needs signatures, Aiden. Shtar has Aiden on the Shtar. No, Shtar's worthless for Aiden.
No, but there's other people sign the Shtar. Yeah.
You need a Shtar. Shtar needs Aiden. So this Shtar happened to have the Aiden of Reuven.
You're not going to
Pardon?
It's just a shtar, it's not ownership.
Yeah, it's a shtar mechira. You own it. You sold it. It was sold to you. Shtar mechira means I own it. No, it's a shtar mechira from Shimon to Levi.
The first thing.
Yeah, we're not talking about cheskes kimoshanim. We're talking about chazaka. We're talking about a regular sale. I've got my document. I've got a document that shows I bought the field, and that document has on it a signature of Reuven. Yeah, second sale. This is nothing to do with chazaka. This is a regular sale. So 1 second. Let's see what they say. So this is the case. This is the case. Adman Omer. Adman says Hasheni Noachli Orishin Koshemenu. Reuven doesn't lose the field because of the fact that he signed it as an aid, because he can legitimately say, you know why I signed as an aid? Because I prefer you. I'm not happy with the second guy. I'm happy with the second guy. I don't like the first guy. I don't like Shimon. He's too tough. I prefer you to have it, and I'll fight you in court. The Chachamim say, we don't believe such fairy stories. You've lost your right. Thank you very much. You sign away on the field. You find a sign away on the field. You're finished. That's it. Now, what the Gemora is bringing this machlokes here, because Gemora wants to say that here, right? The Gemora says, "Kaman ka'admon." It would seem that our Gemora, right? Rava is passing like admon, which is a bit strange because admon against the Rabbanon. Rabbim, Yochid, right? A bit strange you pass on like Admon, right? That's the Gemara's problem. Says more, no. I feel a Temor Rabbanon. You could even say that Rava fits with the Rabbanon. Hossam over there. Ovad Loiva, Ovad Le Maisa. He did an action. There, he signed. That's a serious business. You don't go ahead about signing documents with your name in black ink, saying that Levi owns the field, and then come along afterwards with some Bubba Meiser, basically, that really is only because I wanted to fight you. Really, I knew it was a theft, but actually, it's just because I wanted to fight you. Come, you don't put your name to. People are much more cautious putting their name to something. Right? People are much more cautious about that, generally speaking. Generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking. Generally speaking. Over here, here, a speech. People talk. People say things. So, in other words, it's not such a big deal for me to say, yeah, I think this is a good thing. It went through, I think it's a good thing, you should buy it. It went through he can defend that afterwards by saying, okay, I agree, it's a bit odd. If I think the field was stolen from me, it's a bit odd for me to say buy it. But actually, I didn't think it through in great detail. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm gonna encourage you to buy it, because actually I prefer to fight you than fun. But to go and sign like my name on the shtar mechira, that's bizarre. Johnny doesn't like the difference. So let's see the Rashbam. Well, let's see the Rashbam.
That's the difference to in our case.
Let's see the Rashbam.
In our case, where Reuven leaves his taina for more than 3 years.
No, okay. We'll come back to threes in a second. Let's see the Rashbam. No. Let's see the Rashbam. The Rashbam deals with your problem, Johnny. Let's see the Rashbam and let's see if we still have a problem. Now we understand what the Gemara says. So basically, all the Gemara has done is brought the Pesach of Rava, that it stays with the person that Reuven is entitled to the field, and the Gemara said here we can say everyone agrees. Everyone agrees, even the Rabbanim there who say you've lost your rights. Here they agree that it's a logical defense of your position to say that you only did this because you prefer to fight the other guy, and therefore you get the field back. The person who's raising the criticism, the Yitzhak Soderian takes his field. Because even Adman and the Rabbanon they only argue where the Ma'arer did an action to help the buyer to buy his field. If it was just speech, they all agree like Rava, as is explained later on, as the more explains, right? Even though he's got a chazaka of 3 years without interruption, in other words, he's asking a question here. You know, afal p is often a question. It's like an implied question, right? Even though he's been here for 3 years without objection, that's Johnny's question, right? Yeah, you've been here for 3 years, so why should you lose the field? Chazaka. Still yafsid. He loses. Why? Chazaka she'ein imo tainahi. It's a chazaka without a claim. He's admitted that he didn't buy it from the owner. Ki'im miyad ish nochri, just from a strange person, another person, about whom it is not known. They had a part in it, even for one day. Even for one day. So basically, and now we haven't quite got to Johnny's question, we're getting to that now, but the point is, the Rashbam says, number one, like this. You're going to come to me and say, okay, but why should we give it back to Ruvain? I've got chazaka. The answer to that is simple, because chazaka alone is nothing. You have to have a chazaka with a taina. You've got no chazaka with a taina. What are you saying? You're saying a taina means a story, a believable story, a logical story. I don't have any logical story. You bought it from someone else. I don't know who this guy is. What's it going to do? Why? What's he going to do? He's got no logical story. Or he agrees that.
But no, he's not saying I don't know. He's saying that the guy's a thief. I accept it. No, he's saying I accept that you bought it.
He is saying that. Reuven is accepting that Reuven is accepting that you bought it from Shimon, but it was never his to sell. What's interesting is that everything would change if there was Adis that he lived in it for one day, which is a bit difficult. And that's why I say you've got to get your head around that based on the fact that it's like a threshold thing. If you reach the bar of chazaka sheishim or taina, a chazaka with a taina, and you've done just enough for the zakon. No, you've done just enough for the zakanas chachamim to kick in, even though you can make a very strong claim that it's not true. It doesn't matter because Chazal will help you out now. That's what we do. Like I said, like the Ketos says, we've got to defend buyers. We've got to defend people who buy property. Otherwise, no one will ever be able to trade. So there's got to be a bar somewhere. Yeah. Remember the case of the doves?
Yeah.
Remember the doves? How far the doves hop? 50 amas. 50 amas radius. That's the bar, not more, right? You're going to do Chazal fix based on logic. They fix patterns of behavior and they fix basic thresholds that you need to establish. And if you hit that, well, we shift you to a totally different set of halachas, but you haven't hit that here. Now he asks Johnny's question. Below Motzi Toin, and he can't claim Amailo Micho Ma'ara B'Soch Shalosh. Why doesn't the Ma'ara object within 3 years? So why can't he make the argument? Because where do we say that the Ma'ara loses out by keeping silent? That is only where the other one claims, I bought it from you, and I ate it, I consumed it, I used it for 3 years. Because up to 3 years, a person looks after this shtar, as we've learned. Tfeilim is there, and no more than that. Therefore, this person who didn't object, and he wasn't careful about his shtar because it's been 3 years, and you didn't say anything, if he loses out. That's all where it's a normal case of chazaka, and I say I bought it from you. But over here, the machzik agrees, admits the loimine the ma'arer zovne, that he didn't buy it from the ma'arer shubal akarka, who is the owner of the land. Ube'edim zovna, and bought the land with witnesses. That means the original owner. In other words, it's not in dispute that Reuven was the Morakam. I've said this many times, right? There's no dispute. Everyone knows that Reuven owned the land. Reuven's got 8 and they used to own the land. That's not under dispute, right? Lo hura koichoy shel ma'arer b'shtikosoi. The ma'arer's strength is not weakened through his silence in this case. Shahachazaka, very important line in the next bit. Shahachazaka, because chazaka b'mokom shtar mechirosa emedes. Chazaka replaces or is in place of the document of sale. And since his document is not going to help him, because he bought it from a thief, his chazaka is also nothing. It also doesn't have a leg to stand on. Chazaka, says the Rashbam, can never be stronger than the document, the shtar, it is meant to replace. You understand? That's all it is. What is chazaka? Chazaka is a mechanism, a proof that replaces shtar. First 3 years, I've got a shtar. Forget chazaka, I've got a shtar, right? I've got a shtar. If I don't have a shtar, well, that's a proof I'm lying, right? First years, I've got a shtar, okay? after 3 years, I have chazaka in place of a star. But that will never be stronger than the star itself. And the star itself in this case, if we would transpose what's happening with the chazaka to what happened with the star, if I have a document, I bought it from a pirate, I bought it from a thief, my star is worthless. It's irrelevant. It's not going to help me keep the land if I bought it from the mafia, is it? Because the people who the mafia stole it from are going to come knocking on the door to get it back. So therefore, I can't turn around to you and say, you didn't object. It's a proof I own it. What do you mean? What proof you own it? You can't be better than a star, and a star would be worthless here, so your chazaka is worthless. So the logical argument of midaloi micha, for the fact that he didn't object, it's thrown out the window. Do you understand? Rashbam is interesting. It's introducing a new idea here. It's a new point. It's not something we've learned before. It's not something we've learned before. We've learned chazaka all svara. You asked me to be all svara. All logic. What's the logic? You should object. You should object. Says Rashbam, no, that's not enough. That's not the full understanding. One second. Chazaka is not just a logic that exists like in the air by itself. It's a piece which replaces a document that's missing, a star that's missing. So if the star would fall through the trap door because the star would be false, and your chazaka and false as well, and it doesn't matter how much logic you have to say, well, you can object. It doesn't make a difference. That's what he says.
Just on that, it's not necessarily. So just to be clear, we're saying if this Gemora, if this case, instead of him saying, I've got 3 years chazaka,
Yeah.
I bought it from Shimon and I've got 3 years chazaka.
Yeah.
He said, I bought it from Shimon and here's my star with Eidim showing that I bought it from Shimon. And then Reuben still turned around and said, yes, but Shimon's a gunner. Then equally so, Levi.
We've got, we've got there's no dispute that he bought it from Shimon. He's got Aiden. Everyone knows he bought it from Shimon.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's not going to help you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Is that true? Stuff because we know
He bought it in good faith from Shimon.
But maybe this is exactly the point that effectively Levi or any buyer has to be seen to do their due diligence, which means that they can prove, right, that they have evidence, like they've gone to the the land registry, and they can see that it's legitimately being bought by.
I mean, in a way, contemporary, mad to buy a house from someone unless you are absolutely sure that person has the right to sell it. Exactly. It is caveat.
Yeah, it is.
The whole point of
It is.
Of the chazaka is after the shtar being lost.
Yeah, no, but the chazaka only works if the shtar is between Levi and Reuven directly. That's the point. That's what Rashbam said. That the presence of this third person, Shimon, completely invalidates any chazaka.
Because of the fact, why?
Because of the fact that Shimon never had the right to sell it.
Yeah.
Unless there is some sort of evidence that Shimon was.
If Shimon had bought the
No, but I'm saying he has one day. If there's Eden there, he was there.
yes, this
I
one.
just don't really get how having
this
Eden
one
there
day-
for one day somehow counts against
That's
Reuben's claim of
Yeah.
you're just going to have to swallow that one.
Well, for the moment, yeah.
Minimal.
Yeah,
It
it
seems
seems-
minimal.
So that's why it seems to legitimize the probability that you bought it genuinely.
Yes.
But it can only be a probability.
That's what he said. The Rashbam's notion is in Mem Aleph is la'ames devoro, la'ames devorecha. It would strengthen your words. That's what it does. It adds to it. It adds something to your claim. It's not a conclusive proof. It just adds to your words.
What's the word?
La'ames, like MS. La'ames devorecha. Aleph Mem Tov. Yeah. It's weird. So
effectively saying that the point about the one day, right? It effectively demonstrates.
it supports what you're saying. Yeah. It supports what you're saying.
That's the form of due diligence.
Yeah. Something like that. It's not quite that. Yeah. Okay. let's just see the let's see the next few Rashbams. Just finish this off. Kamanka Admoin. Banon Kaimalon Karabonon, Perek Achron Dik Subas. We hold like the Rabbonon in Perek Achron Dik Subas. That's the most problem with saying it only goes like Admoin. This now the Mishnah says Ruvain Ha'ira al Sada Shemocha Shimon Levi. Ruvain disputes a field that Shimon sold to Levi. V'omer Ruvain, and Ruvain says Ki Shimon Gozlo Mimenu, that Shimon stole it from him. V'hu Ruvain Ha'ira Chosim Aleh Ba'ed. But it happens to be that Ruvain, who's asking the problem, is actually signed on it as an aid. But also Shtam Achira Shekosav Lo Shimon Levi. On that Shtam Achira that Shimon wrote to Levi, Chosim Ruvain V'ed Acherimoy. Ruvain signed as an aid with someone else. So you can say Hasheni Levi Noachli was better for me. That's why I signed, because I prefer the second guy. So the Gemora said that here even the Rabbanon will agree, because Maisa, an action Shechosam aid, yeah, that you sign as an aid, people, the Rabbanon say you don't do. What was that? You're not going to go so far, exactly. But here, when it comes to just words, people do words, say words. Happens to say something. I happen to say that I think this is a good option for you. You asked my advice. That's a good idea. Why? Because it went through my head. It'll be easier for me to get it. It stands that you can say that. It's a logical thing for you to say. The interesting thing is that Tosfos here disputes fundamentally the Rashbam. The Rashbam implies that this really comes back. Hold the point 1 second. The Rashbam implies that Reuven has no edus that Shimon is a Gazlan. It's just that he claims he's a Gazlan. Right? In other words, because Levi doesn't have any proof that he bought it from Shimon, right? So Reuven can just kick him with a claim he's a Gazlan. Tosfos disagrees with that. Tosfos says the scenario only works if Reuven has edus that Shimon is a Gazlan. He's got evidence. What? Yeah, he's got evidence that Shimon is a Gazlan. And the reason why he is able to, and therefore he says, even if, and therefore according to Tosfos, it doesn't make a difference if he's lived there 1 day, in our case. Tosfos does away with this whole business about 1 day, while the Rashbam makes a distinction between the cases. We said, in Mem Aleph, it will work because you got Edus, been there for 1 day, that's not it. According to Tosfos, I've got Edus that this guy's a Gazlan. So it doesn't make a difference if he lived there for 2 years. One second, it makes no difference because he's a Gazlan. He's a thief, okay? And the halacha is, elsewhere in the Gemora, Gazlan ein lo chazaka. The Gazlan has no chazaka. If you stole something, you haven't got any chazaka, right? You haven't got any chazaka, okay? The only reason moving from that point onwards, so that's a departure from Tosfos and Rashbam. You understand? Rashbam learns that we're talking here that there's no edus and it's just Reuven's words exactly. And the Ri has a problem with that. If Rashbam was right, it should have said a different phraseology in the Gemara. Okay, he disputes the Rashbam and he says no. The case here is where Reuven has edus that Shimon is a Gazlan. Okay, according to Tosfos, it doesn't matter how much edus, therefore, Levi has that Shimon's lived in it, because Reuven's got edus that he's a Gazlan. So how can Levi save the day? According to Tosfos, only by saying that you gave me advice to buy it. Do you understand? Because the only way Levi can save his land that he thinks is his is by this claim, I've got Adim that you advised me to buy it. Because if I've got Adim that you advised me to buy it, okay, fine. So Shimon stole it from you, but you wanted me to have it. You know, right? It's true that he stole it from you. It's true you've got Adim on, but you wanted me to have it. You're happy that I've got it.
That overrides the steal.
What? Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's not overrides the stealing. You didn't steal it from me. You bought it from Shimon. Okay. And the fact that you advised me to buy it shows that you agreed with the sale, doesn't it? Right? So on that, Reuven says no. You know why I agree with the sale? Because I thought it was easy to get it back that way. It's just different. Tosfos is different to Rashbam.
What's Rashbam's approach in terms of the age of in terms of saying that he was a thief?
No, it's just a claim.
Claim.
It's a claim. It's a claim that he's a thief, which works because Levi has no proof otherwise. Effectively, that's how we learned it.
But he's happy to take out
Who?
Rashbam.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what he says. Okay, that's the end of that case. We have one more share this Zman. Next week is the last share before the holiday break. Mitzvah Hashem. 9 days already next week. Crazy. Okay. See him. Yeah, we're in the middle of Chesed Batim. Avromi correctly pointed out there was a very nice Chesed Batim sugya in Ksubas. Very nice sugya, and that note was very good. That summed up everything we learned. There's not much Chesed Batim elsewhere in Shas, but it does appear in Ksubas. Everything's in Ksubas. Okay, have a good evening.
Good.